North Node.
I'm in my car about 2 blocks up from where this accident was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
My car is in park. My car is untouched. Literally, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I was like, beam me up, Scotty, or I
Yeah.
shifted timelines, or I blacked out and I swerved. I don't know what happened because I don't remember anything, but I do remember that was a life-changing moment for me because death spared me just such a little
Yes.
fraction. And I gasped, I came to, and it was a remarkable experience. And it started the questions on why am I here?
Yes.
Why did I survive that? Wow, it was
Yeah.
close. And I feel like I came back a different person.
Sure.
I left one person, then I came back in a completely different mindset, a completely different approach to life,
Yeah.
asking those deep questions.
Hi, I'm Paige Nolan. Welcome to I'll Meet You There, a place where heart-centered conversations are everything. Living what matters is the truest thing, and sharing the journey is the best.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I have a fun episode today with a coach and a healer named Will Amason. Will is a teacher and a way shower. He's devoted his adult life to studying, developing, and mastering a wide array of techniques, methods, disciplines, and healing practices that connect us to the greater truth of our lives, including the reality of how deeply we are interconnected. My conversation with Will starts with his personal journey and a recounting of the miraculous event that pointed Will in the direction of what he ultimately came to realize is the path of service. Will shares his early training in meditation and Reiki, which is a form of energy healing, and how he came to understand and master his mind and see himself as the creator of his life. We also talk about the fact that as Will was learning, training, and practicing the various tools he now offers to others, he was also a pioneer in the fitness industry. He was one of the first people to make his living as a fitness expert well over 30 years ago, and he attributes his success as a leader in that field to his ability to coach, to connect, and to manage the energy of a group intuitively. Will and I crossed paths through a mutual friend, and I decided to do a numerology session with him. Will and I dive into numerology in this episode, and we invite you to join us using the numbers in your birthday. Will explains how to find your number using your birth date, and then he shares how each of the numbers, 1 through 9, represent various life lessons. What we consider modern numerology is based on an ancient system of beliefs about divine order and meaning. It's a tool used for self-understanding, direction, self-knowledge, and a way for you to make sense of who you are and how you experience your life. It can be really validating. And like any entry point to self-inquiry, I approach this one with a light touch. I like personal development to be playful, more about discovery and less about fixing. As you all know, if you've been here before, it's my belief that the more we're curious about ourselves, our emotions, and our values, the more we uncover about the truth of who we are. And that makes for better relationships, more conscious choices, more freedom, more purpose, and most of all, more happiness. This is a wish I have for all of us, and that is what Will has devoted his life to serving. I hope you have some fun with this one. Be inspired. Look for yourself in these number lessons and enjoy my conversation with Will Amason. So, Will, this is exciting because a lot of times when I have guests onto my podcast, I have known the people for a long time. So we're in season 3 of this podcast, and where I would like to start with you is exactly where you are in your life, how you and I've met, which is through your work in raising consciousness and healing and wellness. And I want to take our conversation towards that, specifically around numerology and the work you've done, helping people and guiding people through that modality. But I actually don't know a lot about your backstory. So this is fun for me because it's
It's a very
truly,
interesting one. I can't
yeah,
wait to share it with you.
like meet you there. I'm really meeting you here. So thank you for this and take us back. I mean, I know a little bit about the fitness background, but take us back in whatever context you want to go to help us understand the road that got you to healing.
Oh, okay, great. Well, it's a long and winding road.
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of twists and turns on our journey. But one of the things that happened to me when I was right out of college was a life-changing event. And it's a really cool story. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. I had just graduated from college and had moved to Dallas, Texas, and it was Cinco de Mayo
Yeah.
coming up. I remember it distinctly. It was a Sunday afternoon and it was way back, right after that. And I was driving and there was this huge festival that was going on in the park. It was wonderful maypoles and people were wearing brightly colored clothes and
Yeah.
dancing together in costumes. And I was just enamored with what was going on in this park. Of course, I'm driving at the time,
Yeah.
driving down the street about 35 miles an hour. And I'm kind of glancing and I look and then it's in my rearview mirror. And by the time that I turn my head back to the attention of where I'm driving, I'd been so distracted. I'm about to have a head-on collision with
Wow.
um, where a road goes underneath the railroad tracks,
Yes. Yes.
the cement barrier there.
Yes.
And so I just immediately knew, impending doom. This is not good.
Yeah.
And I'm about to have a head on collision. I don't know what's going to happen. So I close my eyes. I brace for impact, right? And I black out and I don't remember anything. So, and I have to kind of tell you this, we've all seen shows of ER where they're
Yeah.
paddling people and they say clear and they put the paddles on your chest
Sure.
and you go,
Yeah.
oh, and this sort of thing. So that's all I can remember is that there was this feeling of my chest pulling me up like,
Yeah.
and I had a big breath and I came to, and I'm not in the hospital. I'm not being paddled in the emergency room. I'm actually perfectly fine. I'm in my car about 2 blocks up from where this accident was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
My car is in park. My car is untouched. Literally, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I was like, beam me up, Scotty, or I shifted timelines, or I blacked out and I swerved. I don't know what happened because I don't remember anything, but I do remember that was a life-changing moment for me because death spared me just such a little
Yes.
fraction. And I gasped, I came to, and it was a remarkable experience. And it started the questions on why am I here?
Yes.
Why did I survive that? While it was
Yeah.
close. And I feel like I came back a different person.
Sure.
I left one person, then I came back in a completely different mindset, a completely different approach to life,
Yeah.
asking those deep questions. And, you're 23 at the time,
Yeah.
hell,
Yeah.
that's kind of when that happened right after college.
Yeah.
So that's what started my journey was this crazy accident that happened. And the story kind of unfolds in stages. And I do want to share a little bit about that. I don't want to get too deep in it.
Sure.
But after that, I took this course called the Silva Method of Mind Development, which teaches you how to creatively visualize using
Okay.
your inner vision, your heart energy to manifest things. And I was an amazing manifester. I have tons of stories about that
Yeah.
phase of my life of pulling things together. That shifted into, I got really good at that. And then I got involved in an organization called the Church of Religious Science.
Okay.
It's not Scientology, but it's kind of like the Unity Church.
Okay.
I don't know, kind of the power of the spoken word.
Yeah.
And I started to work with the prayer group of actually speaking things into action, where the Silva method taught me how to use my third eye creative visualization. This path was about speaking things and commanding things with your voice
Yeah.
and to create change in the world through speaking your truth. And it was a very powerful stage. And then that evolved into energetic healing with my hands. I became a Reiki practitioner, Reiki
Yeah.
master, and a Reiki master teacher, initiating other people. I've taught hundreds and hundreds of students around the world. In Switzerland, I've taught in Ireland,
Yeah.
all across here in the United States, different things, but a lot of students in my Dallas home base where I was living at the time. So it's interesting that I learned how to move energy through my third eye, through creative visualization.
Yeah.
Then learned how to manipulate energy through your voice. And then I learned how to change energy through vibration of your hands-on
Yes.
healing, and working with the body and then sensing feedback from the body.
Yeah.
And then I learned how to do Jenshin Jitsu, which was reading the pulses. So it's very fascinating how that all mixes together, that I learned that we're all creators, that
Yeah.
we're all creators of our life, and we can manifest through our voice,
Yeah.
through our imagination, through our creativity, through intention of your hands. The hands are an extension of your heart. But the common denominator in all of that is the feeling nature. You've got to feel it to be able to create it. You've got to, if you're going to visualize something, you've got to visualize something to the degree that um, it feels real inside. It's like
Yes.
not a dream, it's actual playing out in your inner vision. Same thing when you speak. You've got to speak with authority. You don't speak with doubt, you speak with authority.
Yeah.
Things change. And when you move into somebody's energetic field with authority
Yeah.
and your inner vision, you can facilitate healing. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I got started
That's
with all of
beautiful.
this.
Yeah. I'm curious if you were open-minded about it in the beginning. I have a real trouble with manifesting. I want to be able to do it, and I know I have done it, and there's evidence of that in my life.
Hmm.
And I know that I have held a vision for something, and then, that vision has come true. And the way I interpret that is through trusting synchronicity and the choices I made along the way to bring that vision, into form, let's say. But I also struggle with it logically, and so I'm wondering, did you come to, obviously having that experience at 23 blew your mind open,
Hmm.
obviously.
Hmm. Yeah.
But were there seeds in your earlier life where you were an imaginative kid, or did you have a lot of faith growing up? Or do you just find that because of that one event, which is totally fair if it was this one event, it completely, transformed and opened up your mind in a way that you wouldn't have had before?
When we look back at our childhood, it's all fuzzy because our
Yeah.
memories are not real clear. But there are moments when I can remember being sick, having all those childhood, kind of like
Yeah.
illnesses that you have, when you're in elementary school. And I remember distinctly, um, there was a feeling that came over me, and I started to vibrate, and it
Yeah.
was this internal feeling. And all of a sudden, I just was well. My illness or whatever, my
Yeah.
fever broke. I felt great. And it's tapping into that is really, really a strong, strong inner feeling. I don't know. I think I may have been born with it or just innate with it.
Yeah.
But the Silva method um, teaches you that when you can change your brainwave frequency, like do you know much about brainwave frequencies?
We've talked about it a little bit on this podcast.
Yeah,
But you could say, if you want to give us for maybe listeners who don't have an understanding of that everything is
sure, sure.
frequency.
The The brainwave frequency that we're functioning at now is called the beta brainwave
Yeah.
frequency. And there's a large band of it, right? And it depends on where you're referencing the frequency band, but it can go all the way down to 14 and all the way up to 28 or 30
Yeah.
hertz per cycle. And on average, it's around that 21 cycles per second, kind of where we are right now. When you get very frenetic, anxious, tense, that vibration goes up into the high, it's called high beta. You're stressed, you're
Yeah.
irritated, you're tense, you're in stop and go traffic, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And as you become more relaxed, you drop down into the alpha brainwave frequency. And the alpha brainwave frequency averages around 10 cycles per second. It can go
Okay.
from 7 up to 14, and it kind of varies in that general range. And this is where creative visualization is key. So when we're talking about visualization, you want to be able to lower your vibration of your brain, your frequency, out of the beta and into the alpha brainwave frequency, where you're very calm, and you're very focused, but you're very present.
Yeah.
You're in control, right? When you drop down into the theta brainwave frequency, all right, so the
Mhm.
theta brainwave frequency is where you go when I'm a Reiki healer
Yes.
and I'm working on someone's body. Now I'm a little bit deeper and I'm getting information. There's information that's
Yeah.
coming towards me and I'm able to receive it at a deeper level, more intuitive, more of a knowing, or I'll
Mhm.
get a vision or something when I'm interacting that. And that's a very small band. It's between 3 to 7 cycles per second. And what I've noticed is there's a hidden doorway in the theta brainwave frequency,
Mhm.
and it's through the heart. When
Yeah.
you can drop your brainwave frequency down into the theta range of 3 to 7 cycles per second, and you can open your heart frequency
Mhm.
to a state of gratitude, genuine caring, authenticity, love for yourself, and you start to emote this positive heart feeling. There's a genuine heart feeling. This opens you up to that transcendental meditation, which skyrockets, oddly enough, up to the gamma brainwave frequency,
Yeah.
which is in the high 50s and up, which is where bliss can happen, where
Mhm.
experienced meditators often are going. Now, if you miss the window and you're not able to open your heart in that theta brainwave frequency, a lot of inexperienced meditators, if they go from beta to alpha and they drop theta, well, they just keep going and they go right into
Yeah.
delta, which is sleep, right? So, if you
Yeah.
start nodding off and, while you're meditating, you're training your brain waves to kind of stop right before you go into the delta brainwave frequency.
Yeah.
And if you can stay in theta, I think theta is a sweet spot for healing
Yeah.
and for yeah, transcendental bliss kind of feeling if you can move through the heart.
So we can bring ourselves into that state. You don't have to be with a
Absolutely.
practitioner. Okay.
You don't. And some of the things that I've found that are helpful, because I do teach meditation classes,
Yeah.
is that listening to binaural beats,
Yeah.
which is, usually with headphones, um, is a great way for to entrain the brainwave frequency, either at alpha or at theta,
Okay.
and learning how to function at that level without going to sleep.
Did you have a vision of yourself working with others? After I'm imagining that you were doing the healing initially for yourself, having the visualization of your own life,
Yeah.
and then moving into the scenario where you're training other people in Reiki. Tell us about that transition. Was that something you anticipated?
Well, I didn't have a health crisis, it's really
Yeah,
just a path of service. So I did go into it wanting to be of service to
I
others.
see.
And that's been the common theme through my
Yeah.
life. I'm service oriented and wanting to be of help to other people. But what I noticed in being a Reiki and a Reiki master, back at that time when I was studying, it took me 3 years to go through the Reiki training.
Mhm.
Today you can find Reiki in a weekend,
Yes.
but I had to read 5 books on quantum physics. I had to write
Yeah.
a paper for my Reiki master. I was, I had to do hands-on sessions and do a lot of tutorials. I really went the distance,
Yes.
with my Reiki training. And what I noticed is when I was able to then initiate others into the Reiki system, I found that there was a lot of people that wanted to do it, but they didn't want to do the work, right? They
Yes.
wanted that quick fix of being a Reiki master. And there was a lot of, they would go up to a certain level and they would just kind of plateau and not move any
Yeah.
further. Um,
I think of Reiki as just energy healing. Is there a different way to define it for our listeners? I mean, is that
well,
I define
Ray
it very broadly.
Yeah, Reiki is really another word for that universal life force energy. It's
Yes.
a Japanese term,
Yes.
and we all have it. We all have access to it. And the American Indians call it Wakan,
Yeah.
Wakan. In Christianity, it's referred to as the Holy Spirit. All
Yeah.
right, so it's they're different names for the same energy,
Yeah.
but it's indigenous through us all, and we can all tap into it. by inviting it in and just tuning into
Yeah.
that frequency for
And
sure.
and so at the same time, because you've made a big mark on the fitness world, and
Hmm.
so at the same time as you're pursuing this healing, are you also in this other lane of helping people with their physical bodies and strength building and this other way that you have served?
Yeah. So the fitness journey happened about the same time, right? Right
Okay, so they're
after this
coinciding.
experience,
Yeah.
I started teaching fitness classes, and then I think about 2 years later, I devoted that to full time,
Yeah.
and I would consider myself an early adopter. I had
Yes.
that mindset of being an early
Yeah.
adopter, and I was in the first wave of people beginning to make fitness a career. It wasn't a hobby, wasn't
Yeah.
their second job, something they did. It was, this is what I want to do from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to sleep,
Yeah.
7 days a week. I want to be, serving, health, wellness,
Yes.
and it all kind of goes together, but they were parallel the whole time. And what I find about fitness, I started with group fitness, of moving with music.
Yeah.
And it's a way of, for me, a moving meditation, which as you get into the groove, I just like in another world. For
You're
me,
in the
that
flow.
space of
Yeah.
actually being in sync and teaching and
Yeah.
information coming in, there's just this subtle um, vibration that happens that just brings me joy while
Yeah.
I'm coaching, when I'm teaching. I'm kind of in another world.
Yeah, and tell us about that side of it. Did you immediately start, with groups online? Because I know that's a lot of what you're doing now, or was that a
No, well,
slow.
back then, hey,
Oh,
I
right, because you were
started
doing it
teaching
so
at the
long ago. Yeah,
yeah, it was
right,
a
of
long
course.
time ago. I started
Yeah.
teaching fitness classes at the downtown YMCA before all, the Lifetimes and the Equinoxes even
Yeah.
existed. You had your local Ys, and I have to admit, I'm old enough that I played records,
No
and then I moved to
way.
cassette
Oh,
tapes,
wow. Did they skip?
right?
Did the record skip if people were jumping around?
No, it was over there. I had a
Oh, it's
I
so
had a
good.
microphone stand with a microphone that had an actual cord that ran over to, you're
Wow.
holding that. That
Yeah.
was that was way back when, and it was a great experience because there's 75 people on one side of me. It was in the basketball court, and 75 on the other, and I was
Okay.
having to switch back and forth. And I learned a lot during that stage, but it's evolved. So I was
Yeah.
one of the first to kind of bring fitness as a career, and one of the first to become nationally certified as a group fitness instructor.
Yeah.
And that parlayed, after that, to be a continuing education provider of credits to other professionals who want to get certified. That's
Yes.
taking me along.
So talk to me about the intersection between the 2. Do you find that you're reading energy in a group? Does a group take on its own energy?
Yes, it does. It's
Yeah.
interesting. You've got to have, and I learned this from Greg Braden, that the energy field, and I can't remember where he accessed that information, but I remember he telling that in one of his talks, was that we have an electromagnetic field
Mhm.
around our body. And when you are in proximity to someone that you're exercising next to, as long as you're 15 feet, within a 15 feet span, your energy fields are connecting. There's a
Yeah.
handshake between them. So when I'm teaching a class, and it's a smaller class, I have to corral people to get within a certain distance of them. I don't want to
Yeah.
go too close, but I've got to get them close enough where there is a group energy field.
Yes.
And it, it's really interesting because all of a sudden you can kind of tune in to that particular group of people,
Yeah.
which may be different on any given day because the mix of people that are there is interesting. I teach a meditation class right now, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah.
And there's usually, I don't know, maybe 200 to 300 people in this online class that I teach.
Yeah.
And every time I teach, it feels like something I'm never scripted. It's always
Yeah.
impromptu. I just let it kind of flow through me. And something new always wants to come out. And I know it's based on that particular group of people and the energetics that's happening. and that somebody needs to hear something on that given day. It's the same thing in fitness, is like, like sometimes I've even said, whose birthday is today?
Yeah.
And somebody will say, it's mine. I'm like, well, let's sing happy birthday to you. So you just kind of get
Yeah.
this intuitive push by being around groups of people. So I think I'm a facilitator of group energy. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I have gravitated to. And it is really interesting to
Yeah.
be in a group and to facilitate group energy.
How do you protect yourself?
That's a good question. Um, I had a client who had terminal cancer,
Mhm.
and she came to me and she said, and she was in one of my group fitness classes,
Yeah.
and mainstream. And she came. She said, you told me once that you did Reiki healing, and I said, yeah, I'll do Reiki healing, energetic healing. And she wasn't expected to, um, the life expectancy with this particular
Sure.
aggressive cancer was 6 months.
Yeah.
So she had gone through all of the other protocols. And often my clients, when I was doing energetic healing, were people that had serious conditions because
Yeah.
they had tried all other avenues, and they're like, what do I have to lose? So she and I started working together, and it was really a remarkable experience. And she committed to come 2 days a week.
Mhm.
Well, 6 months came and went, and she was doing pretty well. Then a year passed by,
Yeah.
and then a year and a half passed by. And she really attributes, her ongoing health to these sessions that we were doing. And over a period of time, because she was the most regular client that I had for
Yeah.
such a long period, it was just a standing appointment, that our energy fields started to merge.
Mhm.
And what would happen is I could sense when she was having a low day, and I started to take on her energy.
Yeah.
And what was happening, it was a big lesson for me, is I noticed that even though I didn't have cancer, there were certain events that were going around my life that were not optimal.
Yes.
Finances, relationship issues. It was just things got hard. Family health issues.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily with me, but it was being reflected back to me that things were just difficult. And after about 2 years, I realized that we had crossed this energetic boundary,
Yeah.
and I was taking on and I was processing her energy for her.
Mhm.
And this is really what a spiritual master did in the past when they had a student. They would take on the student's karma, right?
Mhm.
And help, not that they would solve it all, but they would take on a big burden of it to kind of ease the karmic burden on the student,
Yeah.
so the student could elevate and to rise up. So that phase went on about another 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I was enabling her. She was not rising. She
Yes.
was not growing. And my guidance said, you have to stop. You have to stop.
Yeah.
You have to stop treating her and refer her to another client. This has been four
Yeah.
years. She wasn't expected to live only for 6 months,
Yeah.
right? So by this time, she had become very dependent on me and now
Yeah.
fearful of this thing. And I knew that she would be leaving soon.
Yes.
I knew that her soul's agreement had come to an end. And so it was probably the hardest thing that I had ever had to do, trusting my inner guidance, my
Yeah.
knowing that it's time for me to not be your energetic therapist, because your soul is talking to my soul and saying it's time for you to move on.
Yes.
Yet her personality and her ego did not understand it.
Yeah.
And she had anger towards me, and she had resentment towards me. And it was very delicate time, because it was a lesson for me to trust what I know.
Yes.
You know, I want to help this person, but I realized then that I'm helping her soul, not her ego.
Yeah.
And after I stopped working with her, she she did pass away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I work a lot with people who value relationships. Let's say it
Mm-hmm.
that way. And so these transitions in friendships or in closeness in a relationship, it could be in a marriage, it could be with a sibling. These adjustments that we have to make when the energy is off balance is what I'm thinking about as you're
Yeah.
talking, where it's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to claim and name that truth for ourselves, that it's out of balance, where we are not receiving in the way that feels equal or healthy for us even. And so I appreciate that kind of example of how to do the hard thing is actually the right thing. It's
Yeah, it is.
difficult, but it's in the grand scheme of things, it's the right thing to do. So I want to talk to you about your numerology because this
Okay.
is where you and I have crossed paths. So I was referred to you by a dear friend that we share. And she knows that I like all of these different ways to support myself and support my clients. And I'm always curious about healing and I'm curious about self knowledge. And some of those ways are conventional and some of those ways are less conventional. And I think that keeps it interesting. For most of my listeners, I think numerology will be considered unconventional and
Mm-hmm.
maybe even a new area for them. Maybe they've heard about it in some sort of Instagram meme or something here or there. Maybe nobody's heard of it. But I find it really fascinating. And I have talked about astrology on this podcast. I've talked about, we've had an Enneagram expert
Mm-hmm.
on the podcast, and she talked a little bit about human design. So, and we've had a couple of healers visit us. So, it's out there, but I'd love for you to speak to us about what drew you to numerology, how we can access it, and maybe even a couple of examples of how to
Sure.
apply it.
Well, we talked earlier about brainwave frequencies and
Yes.
being, there's a numerical value associated with that. Well, light has a frequency as well. Red, yellow,
Yeah.
blue. You can measure that in frequency. And so when we're looking at numbers, some people are like, well, how does the numerology work, especially with letters, right? I
Yes.
get it with numbers, but how about with letters? So, the ways that it was explained to me when I was studying numerology are there's several what are called platonic solids.
Okay.
And one of the platonic solids is called a tetrahedron. So if you can think about a pyramid um, with a four, a tetrahedron has three-sided pyramid that's kind of a three-dimensional triangle.
Okay.
And if you were to take a beam of light, like a really focused, laser beam, and you shine it into that, what would be like a crystal, like
Hmm.
a pyramid crystal, the light is refracted, and it creates a shadow on the other side of the
Okay.
crystal. And there's a marking on it. That's where the alphabets come from.
Oh,
That's where the
interesting.
letters come from.
Yeah.
So as you move around, and you were to take the light, like a moon hovering around, that crystal, the reflection as the light comes in will define the alphabet. And so I think the tetrahedron is the alphabet that's closest to our alphabet that we use
Okay.
today, like the Aramaic uh, letters kind of arrive from that. So through the alphabet, um, A would be 1, B would be
Yeah.
2, C 3, and you just kind of go all the way up to Z, which would be, the 26, or 2 and 6 is an 8. So, like S would be a 1,
Yeah.
because that is the 15th letter of the alphabet.
Yes.
All right. So M would be the 13th letter of the alphabet, and so that would be a 4.
Yeah.
D is also the fourth letter of the alphabet, and that's a 4. So D, M, and V are all 4 vibrations.
Okay.
B, K, and T are all 2 vibrations. So every letter has an associated. So when I do a chart, looking at the person's name,
Okay.
and comes up with numbers about that, but you've got to understand what the numbers actually mean. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a kind of a summary of the
Yeah.
Cliff Notes version
Yes, that's great.
of
And
1
And
through 9.
right?
Maybe the best thing is let's use your birthday, right?
Okay. Okay.
Right? So think about the month that you're born. If you were
Yeah.
born in, say, August is the
Yeah.
8th month of the year, so that would be an 8. If you were born in December, that's the 12th month, and that
Yeah.
would be 1 plus 2 is a 3. So everyone would find their month, all right, the month that they're
Yeah.
born, and that would be one number. You digit it down to one number, all right? And then you take the day that you're born, and then that is just one number. So if you're
Okay.
born on the 8th, you would be an 8. If you were born on the 24th, that would be 2 plus 4 is a 6,
I see.
right?
Yep.
If you're born on the 31st, that would be a 4.
Yeah.
All right. So then you do the same thing with the year of, 2000. That would be an easy one, 2,
Yeah.
right? And then 2026, this year is a 10, right? 2
Yeah.
plus uh, 2 is 4 plus 6 is 10. And then you got a double digit. What is 10? 1 plus 0 is a 1. So we're in a 1 year right now
Okay.
as far as 2026. So if you were to take your month, you've got 3 numbers now. You've got the month, you've got the day, and you've got the year. And you
Yeah.
add those 3 numbers together, you're going to get another composite number. And again, you digit it down to the base number.
Singular number. Okay.
Mhm.
Got it. Okay,
All right.
good. So tell us about these numbers.
Yeah. So the day that you're born, your birth date, represents your lesson, kind of what you came here to learn as a soul. All right. So it all has to do with your bird's eye umbrella vibration that goes through
Yeah.
you your entire life. And typically at the age of 35 to 45, around the age of 40, we
Yeah.
transition from learning our lesson to we've had enough experiences by then that we've learned it. And then it evolves into our essence where we exude it, where we embody our lesson,
Yeah.
right? So depending on your age, this may feel like I learned that when I was young, right? Or like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's really up for me right now. So it all kinds depends on your age. But if your number kind of digits down to a 1, the 1 is the initiator, the starter. It's the first. Everything's here to uh, ignite excitement.
Mhm.
You are the one that starts the energy. You're here to initiate action.
Okay.
You're the one that's going to make it happen. If you don't make it happen, if the 1 doesn't make it happen, it doesn't get started, right? So, when the 1 energy is present in your life, it's there for you to take action. It's there for you to physically move forward and
Mhm.
stop being stagnant, but to move, just move,
Yeah.
travel, go. And the 1 is all about activity, movement, initiation, igniting. And then we move to the 2. The 2 vibration is a receptive energy. The 2 would be learning how to cooperate with others, right?
Yeah.
How to not argue and cooperate. So if you've got a 2 as your life lesson, you're in conflict a lot with the people around you because you're learning diplomacy. You're learning how to
Yeah.
cooperate, right? You've got to have those speed bumps early in life, like uh, that
Yeah.
person irritates me, or I get along with everyone, and that's such a challenging relationship. And so when you're not healed with a 2, you tend to um, play mental games with people.
Mhm.
You gossip about people to kind of put them down, and you blame people for your
Yeah.
misfortune. And it's all the other person's fault, right? You haven't, it's this game of energy between you and another person, and you haven't learned boundaries. You haven't learned how to connect or to cooperate with other people, which is the ultimate lesson of the 2 is diplomacy,
Yeah.
allowing people to be themselves and
Yes.
you be yourself, and allow diversity and unity to kind of happen at the same
Yeah.
time, right? And
Is
just
the
honoring.
is an I'm at the 29th. Is
Uh-huh.
an 11 a 2?
Yeah.
You reduced from
11 is a
11?
2. 11 is a
Okay.
master number.
Yeah, I
And
remember reading
so,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So the 11 is a vibration, um, which is a master 11, 22, 33, even 44 double digits are usually master numbers. And the 11 is a master I'm an 11, right? And
Okay.
we've been talking about, I facilitate group energies. So
Yeah.
typically when you have an 11, you are a broadcaster, not only on one-to-one energy, but on me to group, right?
Yeah.
So 11s take in group energy. They're master speakers, communicators. They get their message across to a lot of different people at one time. So that
Okay.
would be an 11. So the diplomacy is leveled up a notch into a broader
Yeah.
audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I love a group facilitation
Yeah.
too. We share that. So tell us about
Yeah.
the 3.
The 3, the 3 is, as a lesson, if it's your birthday,
Yeah.
you're learning how to create rather than imitate.
Okay.
All right. So the 3s are about joy of creation, of creating from within and allowing your own inspiration, your own authenticity to create that which is truly you. You're learning to be authentic.
Mhm.
And when you create something, it hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
It's the you created a new recipe or you've created a new piece of art. It's just a one of a kind offering that comes through you because of your uniqueness. So the 3 is learning all about your own authenticity in the power of creating through what you have to offer.
Yeah.
There's no one that can offer what you have to offer. So it's authenticity in creation.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So the lessons that you might learn earlier in life, if you're a 3, are you're trying to create, but you're not tuned into the field or to that creative spirit yet. And so you create through imitation, right?
Mhm.
You mimic, you see other people, what they're creating, and you like it. And so you want to create something. And so you begin to duplicate what you see others duplicate,
Yes.
right? That's not
Yes.
creation. That's imitation, right?
Yeah.
The authenticity is not coming through you. So the 3 has got to learn to say, okay, I'm not going to imitate. I'm not going to duplicate. I'll let that inspire me,
Yeah.
but I'm going to tune into my own creativity and let my own signal, my own self be
Yeah.
expressed here because I'm the only one that can do it this way,
Yes.
right? So that's the power of the 3
Okay. I love
is
it.
creative expression.
Yes.
Creative
Good.
expression. Yeah.
What about the 4?
Okay. The 4, we just kind of go up. The 4 is here to learn about structure and foundation, the
Okay.
importance of setting a good foundation. We know this when building a house, right? If you don't put it on a good solid foundation, the house will crumble.
Yeah.
So it's learning to do the tedious, metidious. I've just made up a new word.
I like that.
Meticulous and tedious. It's called metidious.
Honestly, everybody listening would probably relate to that word. That's good for our listeners.
Right. Yeah. So the 4s, early on in life, you're realizing that you need a little bit of structure. You need the
Yeah.
boundaries. Uh, you need things to be defined in order to build upon them. So
Yeah.
logic comes into this, not fantasy. It's like, okay, research,
Yeah.
studies, what has been proven in the past. This works, this doesn't work. Okay, let's take that information, apply it to this. So a lot of people that are kind of involved in scientific research
Yes.
or studies or accounting or things like this that have to have a
Yeah.
structure because it's built upon it. Those are the 4 vibrations, right? They're there. So anything that has to do with education, the government, any structure of your community, setting uh, boundaries,
Yeah.
bylaws, all this sort of thing kind of will fall kind of in that 4 vibration of structure
I
and guidance.
I
Yeah.
have to share this with you. I'm smiling because you know how I mentioned the home address because I've got homes
Uh-huh.
on my mind. I just got back from visiting my parents in New Orleans, and they've
Yeah.
lived in the same home for 54 years,
Yeah.
and it's a 4 home. And we had family meetings on Sunday. My
Uh-huh.
mom had a meal plan. My sister
Yep.
is an accountant, my only sibling. I mean, she's a CFO, but, like, she's trained
Yeah.
in accounting. We had, to come prepared to our family meeting on Sunday
Yeah.
with what we were going our schedule for the week. Very academic focused, very, logical. My father's really logical. So anyway, I'm smiling and it's such a beautiful foundation. For those of you listening, if you're growing up in a four home, I had a very positive experience growing up in a four home because
Mhm.
it felt so stable.
Yeah,
Like my parents were really there, really committed, and there was four of
right.
us in a four home and they're still in that home. And it's cool to hear you
I love
describe that.
that.
Yeah, so you could, as y'all are hearing Will describe this, please think of your home, your actual home
Yeah,
you're living in or your home you grew
absolutely.
up in.
Yeah, so after the 4, we go to the 5,
Yeah.
and the 5 is expansion.
Yeah.
It is, curiosity. It is moving beyond, um, what's known. For those individuals, they reach a certain age and they just can't wait to leave their home, or they can't wait to get out of
Yeah.
the confined space, and they're just travelers at heart. They need to travel, they need to see, they need to go to another land, learn another language. The 5 is about expanding your platform of how you live your life.
Yeah.
Foreign languages, foreign lands, course correction, changing course,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. So what you might have early on as a lesson in the 5 is it can go away where 4s are very structured and doesn't change. If you have a 5, oftentimes you're shuffled around
Yeah.
early on in life and you don't stay in one place at one time, and you go
Yeah.
from one school to another school to another school, and or you playing friends, or maybe you're in this house and your neighbors keep changing around you. There's some element that things are not stable in a
Yeah.
5's earlier life, and what they're being taught is fluidity. They're being taught how to flow with life, because
Yeah.
life is not always constant, that you need to learn how to let go and just flow with the river. And so that's the 5, the flow energy. Just
Yeah.
find your pace with water going down around the rocks, and being able to be more fluid
Mhm.
and expansive
Yeah.
and curious, and is kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. You just want to learn a little bit about this, you learn a little bit about this, you learn
Yeah.
about this. So you have a wide, well-read repertoire of life experiences. And
Okay.
that's kind of what the 5 is representing.
Yeah.
And it's the ability to change one's mind, the
Great.
ability to
Yeah.
change when you're needed, right?
I love
To not
it.
hold on to either the past or the future, but to say, okay, I'm getting this information in the moment and I need to pivot. I'm not using logic, right? I'm
Yeah.
just getting my own intuition and knowing. And that's really the value of the 5. I'm a 5, right? I'm a 5.
Yeah. So good.
And yeah, so it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
6s are, with your birthday, you're here to serve,
Mhm.
right? Your greatest joy is when you are teaching another person, helping another person, leveling up, the low man, the
Yes.
person that's has it, is less fortunate than you, and you want to actually give them an opportunity to lift them up, either through education, awareness, through, being their benefactor somehow,
Yeah.
giving them an opportunity to succeed, right? This heartfelt space of wanting to help others
Yeah.
rise up. It's heart connection, and it's wanting to
Yeah.
serve. And often called the 6s are the nurses of the spectrum. They like
Yeah.
to do for others, because that's what brings a 6 joy,
Mm.
is connecting at a heartfelt level with someone and going through a life experience where you both elevate.
Yeah.
Somehow you both elevate through mutual sharing. And that's what service is. You're really elevating that. And so, earlier on, that might look as a lesson of having to serve, right?
Yes.
Being required to what may be perceived as a subservient position,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
That you are hired by, maybe, to have to serve somebody else, and you're looking at service in the wrong way,
Yeah.
as being submissive of, I'm not good enough, or that person has more money than I am, and I'm not as affluent as them,
Yeah.
and so I'm their maid, or I'm their, uh, we're in the service industry, right?
Yeah.
The pool boy, the person that's doing the lawn, their
Yeah.
numerologist, right? Their
Yeah.
coach, right? This is all there. But when you can flip that energy of really, it's not a lower, it's an honor to serve.
Yeah.
It takes a very wise soul to be able to serve another. It takes a
Yeah.
very mature soul. So it's a very elevated path of the six, spiritual coaches, people that, kind of vibrate into that six vibration,
Yeah.
have that as well.
Did you have a 6 or do you have a 6 in your chart?
I
I
have
imagine you
some
do.
other people in my
Yeah.
career chart. I have,
Yeah.
all these numbers kind of show up in different areas of your numerology
Yes.
chart.
I
So
love
you don't have
that.
just one number.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that about the reading. For those of you getting curious about this, is you do have numbers in different capacities, that because I had
Yeah.
6 in my chart too, but in career, and in different ways that they express
Yeah.
themselves.
Um, Sevens are what they're here to learn. A seven is you're tuning into your spiritual connection, your
Mhm.
internal spiritual connection. You realize that you are not your ego, that you're not your personality, that there's more than meets the eye. You start to ask questions of what happens after I die?
Yeah.
Where was I? Did I exist before I was born? Those are really trippy questions.
Yeah.
And so the seven starts to ask the bigger questions and makes a connection to the spiritual world.
Mhm.
And to do that, most sevens have to withdraw from the outer world, and they go through periods of times where they become more of a hermit, where they go in and they realize that kind of like the three,
Yeah.
that they have to go within to create. Well, you have to go in to get your wisdom, right?
Mhm.
The wisdom comes through the inner self when you're vibrating to the seven. And you have to be quiet, you have to be reflective. So that's what meditation is all about. It's
Yeah.
that seven vibration, going in to get your aha, going inside and being quiet to be inspired for artwork,
Yeah.
going in and being centered. So that seven is sometimes it can be a lonely path,
Yeah.
because it's all about, you can't go inside somebody else to get the information.
Yeah.
You're not looking outside of yourself. So it's kind of going within. So wherever seven shows up, there's a strong need for individualism.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of sevens prefer living alone, or even, if they do have a spouse, they have separate bedrooms.
Yeah.
They need their space in their home that's just theirs,
Yes.
right? Where they need a retreat. They need
Yeah.
that hermit needs their cave.
Yes.
And so the seven is inner reflection.
Yes.
And then as we move into the eight then goes out.
Yeah.
So you've tapped into this inner wisdom of the seven. Now we go to the eight. And if you draw the eight, it's two circles, right, that are on top of each other, an upward circle and a
Yeah.
bottom circle. And it's really the spiritual world and the physical world now are connected. So
Mhm.
you've evolved into the eight, where you then have a little bit more wisdom, where you are the designated manager of
Yeah.
the universe's resources. Like, we trust you with the keys to the kingdom now, right?
Yeah.
You would have a little bit more authority because you've gone through this inner wisdom. And so eights are good manifestors, right?
Yeah.
They know how to manage energy. They know how to
Mhm.
manage when to give it, when to pull it back,
Yeah.
when to uh, kind of extend. And they're kind of looking at the dynamic whole. So the eights end up being, they tend to be leaders of others,
Yes.
not in service, but leading greater initiatives for the community to raise everybody up. All
Mhm.
ships rise at the same. That
Yeah.
that eight gets that, right.
Yes.
And so, what can we do to raise the water in the harbor so all of our boats rise,
Yes.
right? So it's community minded. This is where our political leaders should be today,
Yes.
right? But they're not. But
Yeah.
this would be where people that are guiding communities, setting bylaws for um, the greater good for all, that 8 vibration
Yeah.
is really kind of falls into that category.
Yeah. What is
Yeah.
the 8's lesson early on? Just when you're out of
Selfishness,
balance? Yeah, yeah, I would think
the
so.
pleasure principle,
Yeah,
right? What do I want? You have resources and
yeah,
you have resources, you misuse resources in a selfish way.
yeah,
And then you are without resources,
yeah,
right? You wasted your money on something for usually the pleasure principle.
yeah,
I want this now. I'm not patient. And so the eight are learning that, hey, I've got to not purchase that now, or I'm not to
yeah,
invest that, or I'm not going to eat my candy right now because I'm going to save it later. Or it's really
yeah,
kind of around that. Does
yeah.
that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Tell us about
Okay.
the 9.
The nine, finally the nine. The nine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the completion, right?
Yeah,
So the nine energy is graduation energy. It's the completion energy. It's the energy when you climb up the mountain, you've got the best view when you're at the top because you
yeah,
can see 360 degrees around you. You've walked through all the other levels of vibration. So you've kind of walked that path and you have that inner life experience with a nine. So the nines have a little bit more wisdom.
okay.
And again, they're protectors of everyone else. They are
Mhm,
the humanitarian, basically.
mhm,
They're looking with the
mhm.
community, they're looking out for the entire planet, right?
Yeah,
The nines. And they don't see division. And sometimes the nines can be a little bit argumentative in
mhm.
certain ways because they're defenders of truth.
Yes,
They are, they're not going to let anything slide that's not in the highest and the greatest good of all. So they're willing
yeah,
to fight to protect that which is absolute truth.
yes,
They're the guardians because they know that if you go down this path, ooh, that's going to be trouble. We
yeah,
cannot do that. So they fortify and have a lot of energy around them. The nines do to almost command action for the groups to kind of fall a certain way. Um, very protecting
yes,
energy.
yes.
Yeah.
And what's the lesson earlier on?
Well, it's
Vulnerability?
again, the nine would be, uh, it's it's also about endings, right?
Mhm.
And because at the end of the nine, you begin again.
Yes,
So a lot of the nine's energy for a lesson would be feeling like you're not in control,
yes, yes,
feeling like you don't have life's got you by the handles and you're just a victim, right? You're
yeah,
the victim and there is nothing that you can do. And so you play the victim part
yeah,
and you let whatever the community has
yeah,
said take advantage of you and
yeah,
you're not standing up for what you believe in,
yeah,
right? So the lesson is to not be the victim
yeah.
or the victimizer, either one, but to step into that role of true authenticity and in guidance for the greater good of all.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's so good. So when you first came upon this numerology as a modality and a portal to your own self-knowledge, how did it impact your life? How did it help you?
Well, for I think for numerology, it helped me understand me better, right?
Yes.
And like looking at my chart, like, okay, I kind of get why I'm this way or
Yeah.
that way because your name on your birth certificate, when you add up all the letters, that means something. When you look at the vowels in your name, that means
Yeah.
something. When you look at the consonants in your name, that means something. What letters are not in your name, what's missing, that
Yes.
means something, right? As you go through different stages of your birthday, they're called pinnacles, and you go from one number to another number. So, I'm sure that as people were listening, and your viewers were listening to these 9 numbers, are like, "Well, I can identify with that, and I can
Yes.
identify with that, and I can identify with that." Well, they'll show up in different places in your chart
Yes.
in a certain area. Well, you might be like that in your career, or you might be like that in your relationships with your personal relationships, or you may be like that when you're by yourself, or
Yeah.
you may be like that and that's easy for you, or that's something that you relate to that's really still a challenge that you're working on. So, as you go through your chart, you kind of realize how all these 9 vibrations,
Yeah.
how they weave together in your own life. So for me, to answer your question, the numerology was more about understanding me,
Yes.
and then it evolved into it was a while before I started doing readings for other, because I
Yeah.
I studied it for several years before I offered readings on it.
Is this
But
one of the Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what were you
oh,
gonna
but
say?
but now,
Yeah.
I I've had been a manager and hiring individuals, and I
Yes.
see a lot of resumes, and I can certainly look at somebody's name and, like,
Y
glance and look at their birthday and do a few numbers. I'm like, "Oh," I can kind of give a
Yes.
quick profile on that person just by looking at their name without even interviewing them first.
Yeah.
I can kind of know what interview questions I need to ask that
Y
person,
Sure.
to kind of get more information out. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Of all of these different ways that you are helping people, do you find that you have one that is, like, your quote, unquote, "favorite" right now? Or do you feel like the path of service is really to be intuitively guided to what that person needs? I feel like you have a lot of different ways that you reach people.
It's all kind of merged in together as one. It's hard to separate them all out because
Yeah.
I've integrated them all into who I am today. And because I speak with confidence,
Yeah.
I know that my words shift people.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I know that my intention to shift people will shift people, you
Yes.
know?
Isn't that so cool? We talked about intention a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
It's powerful. And
Yeah.
so it all kind of rolls together. So I kind of use everything in my life that I've learned. I think numerology is interesting. Do I use it every day? No, but it was a great
Yeah.
way to understand myself. I do when I meet people
Yes.
um, out. I look at their first name, and their last name. Typically, your first name is how you show up personally.
Yeah.
Your last name is how you show up professionally. And if
Okay.
I'm having a casual conversation and I'm going out with some friends, you know, I meet a Sam, all right, SAM,
Yeah.
right? Well, S is a one, A is a one,
Yeah.
M is a 4. We'll kind of know this person is going to be a little bit um, action oriented, right? S
Yeah.
is 1. They're action oriented. They like to take the lead. They like for it to be their idea. And
Yeah.
that M is the 4, which had to do with structure. They're a combination of these 1 and 4 energies. So it allows me to create rapport with that person because I know pretty quickly
Yeah.
is that I have to agree with them, right?
Yes.
They'll be defiant, and it's gotta be their idea, and there's
Yeah.
gotta be a plan, right? So that would be a Sam.
Yeah.
And then say I'm looking at a Linda, right?
Yeah.
A Linda, all right? So I look at usually the first consonant and the first vowel, uh, an L and an I. So an L, if you go it up, so the 12th letter of the alphabet, if we know 1 plus 2 is a 3, what do we know about
Yeah.
3? Inner creativity, here to
Yeah.
create. I is the 9. The I's also represent intuitiveness, following
Okay.
your instinct and your intuitiveness. So I know that she's a very creative person,
Yeah.
Linda, on a personal level. I don't know her last name, but on a personal level, she's learning how to bring through herself and this I. She's very internal. She internalizes it.
Yeah.
She makes decisions from an intuition standpoint. Um, and so you've got to be, she's a little bit more touchy feely than the
Yeah.
Sam would be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you connect. So it's a way to develop a rapport it's helped me do that,
Yeah.
connecting with other people.
Well, I feel like learning about it since our reading together, and I've been reading about it and I've poked around it before because I love all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's really affirming the path that I'm on because at the end of your reading, I don't know if you do it sequentially the same way with everybody, but we talked about timeline because I had some questions about timeline too. So you can look at different themes of like what type of time you're in. And I have spent a lot more time creative writing this year
Mhm.
in the past 6 months, and you and I talked about how I'm in a writing year. So
Yes.
it was kind of interesting to me, not only the skill set, the expression, the self-expression, self-knowledge, but also just affirming how your life has played out. And the last thing I'll say about my reading that really stuck with me that I loved that you brought up just now is this persona that's on the outside versus like a more private part of you. And I can't remember which number it was, but I remember my takeaway is that I'm so extroverted and friendly and I love to connect and teach and learn, but I have this extremely quiet side and I have to be
Mhm.
alone and I need to be in my space. I have a lot of sevens. So this
Mhm.
is my office. I do my podcast in my office. And growing up, my sister and I always laugh about this part of my personality. I would just wanna be in my room with, like, stickers and notebooks, and I still have that now. So it
Mhm.
was very affirming and, like, I need that, whereas before
Right,
it was
right.
like, "Oh, I have that, no big deal." Well, when you do something like dig into your chart and really spend time with it and witness yourself, it's like, that's not just fun for me, that's an essential aspect of who
Yeah.
I am, is going retreating and gathering enough energy to go out again. So I loved getting a reading, and I'm glad that you're finding that it's all kind of integrating for you. The energy work, helping people find their voice, speak with confidence, intuitively guiding groups. Like
Mhm.
it's truly where you have found your path of service in all these different ways converging. It's really cool.
Yeah. And it's very rewarding. I think, one of the I'm in a 6 vibration for my
Okay.
career for I have been and I'll kinda be in it for a long time. And as I mentioned about the 6, the only thing that brings me joy right now is serving others.
Yeah.
Not about making money, making a name for myself,
Yeah.
trying to, be an influencer or get fame or
Yeah.
whatever. It's really I get more joy
Yeah.
in sharing and lifting others up just so they can have an aha moment or have an
Yes.
understanding. And that is what gives me joy and kind of drives me to move forward every day.
Yeah, so you're
So,
doing exactly what you need to be
yeah,
doing well. Thank goodness. You're helping all of
exactly.
us accept ourselves more. This is what we
Right.
really need,
Exactly.
self-acceptance. Will is one of those people who has really followed his intuition and trusted his talents. When an event happened that opened his mind in a way that was totally unfamiliar to him, he didn't turn away. He let that event be as significant as it was, and he followed the pull to explore what intrigued him. I think life is talking to us all the time. It's not just in miraculous moments that defy logic. Many of us don't get those crazy events. Life is beckoning us in smaller moments, too. Moments of synchronicity, and those times when we pause and think, that's a crazy idea. Does it have to be crazy? Or can we say, that's a curious idea? And decide that our curiosity is an expression of intuition and intelligence. We get to follow it and believe that there is good expansion in store for us as we do. Will believes in the power of his mind, the truth of his voice, and he brings integrity to the path of service. I love how he's integrated so many different ways of healing and helping into what he sees as one intention: to shift people to a place of alignment and empowerment. Meeting Will where he is now reminds me of the great success that can come our way when we trust our talents. Trusting our talents is a way of appreciating our gifts, and that makes us so much more generous in service. I've been having a lot of fun with numerology since my session with Will. Of course, I've learned more about the numbers in my chart, but I've also read about the numbers associated with each of my kids and with my husband, Boyd. Diving into a system like numerology is a way to have more compassion for what your loved ones are learning and a deeper understanding of the challenges that they may face in this lifetime and the gifts that are theirs to enjoy. Even though numerology is not scientifically validated, I find it to be such a useful avenue for reflection, meaning, and connection. Thank you, Will, for spending this time with me, for sharing your gifts and your talents with so many people, and for showing us how the path of service is deeply gratifying, inspiring, and most of all, joyful. You can find out more about Will and his many coaching and healing offerings on his website, willamason.com, and we will put a link to Will's website in our show notes. Thank you all for listening, and I look forward to meeting you here again soon.
Thanks to each of you for being here and for listening. I'm so grateful we get to share life in this way. As always, full show notes are available at paigenolan.com/podcast. There you will find a full summary of the episode, timestamps, and key takeaways, and any resources mentioned in our conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love if you would leave me a rating and a review. You can do that by visiting paigenolan.com/love. Your reviews really do help people to discover the show. And if you know someone specifically who would enjoy this episode, I'm so grateful to have you all share I'll Meet You There with your friends. Lastly, if you have any questions or comments, or if you would like to share any feedback with me, please email to meetmethere@paigenolan.com. I would love to hear from you. Thank you to the team that makes this show possible. Podcast production and marketing by North Node Podcast Network. Music by Boyd McDonnell. Cover photography by Innes Casey. Okay, y'all, that's it for now. I'll meet you there again soon.